Nicolle Wallace knows a lot of stuff we would all really like to know, having served President George W. Bush as White House Communications Director and the McCain-Palin campaign as a senior advisor. Admit it, you would like to know what she knows about lots of stuff. Nicolle Wallace's new book is called 18 Acres. It's a novel, a bit of a thriller about life in and around the White House in D.C. It is great. I read it in one sitting. It is really a very good book. Nicolle, thanks for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I know it's fiction, but the surprise, electrifying, folksy vice presidential pick, Tara Myers. Am I wrong to see you trying to tell the story of Sarah Palin through that character?
Look, I would be lying if I said there wasn't any of my emotional reaction to this very traumatic campaign. I mean, just losing is traumatic.
Yeah.
But being thrown under the bus and left for dead is extra traumatic. So I was definitely working some things out as I was writing this book. And you and I talked around the time that Sarah Palin's book came out. But I tried to resist the temptation to subject any of my characters, all three of these women who I became very attached to in writing the book, to the same indignities that I suffered. So it is a totally different story. And I think you and I have also talked about the sequel. We learn a lot more about Tara Myers in the sequel.
Oh, it's way juicier
and so
about
I think,
Tara Myers in the sequel.
I think the story in its entirety will not remind people about Sarah Palin specifically, but certainly this violent collision of establishment candidates, of an incumbent president running for re-election and someone from outside the Beltway is playing out all over the country. I mean, that's what, you have some of the uglier moments, in sharp focus every night, and they make us all cringe. But this is this collision that's happening that, I think if '08 was about change, this year is about upheaval, and it's happening all over the country. And I wanted to capture some of how messy and ugly and personal that can become.
Well, how does the violence of that collision is the story. It's not the story of the post-McCain campaign Republican Party, but it is the story of this campaign season. Nobody really knew if somebody was going to emerge as the leader of the Republican Party.
Right.
Nobody did, and instead we've had this sort of leaderless, constant crashing in every jurisdiction.
Right, and some conservatives believe that serves the Republican Party best. I don't agree. I mean, I think that there is, I actually admire some of the establishment Republicans like Haley Barbour and Jeb Bush, who and I wish they would do what you were talking about. I wish they would serve as referees. Our party would be so much better off if in addition to all this great chaos and grassroots energy, we had some adults rise up and referee some of our debates. It would bring out the best in our party. It would help. I think it's hard for the good stuff to come up, and so all you have is the muck.
Yeah.
And so I think it's ugly. I think at the end the Republican Party may be strengthened by reconnecting with our grassroots. But what I write about and what I was so deeply affected by in the campaign was just how violent this collision of the establishment and the outside can be for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I want to ask you about that in your own, like your character's decisions and your own decisions about that. But on that idea of somebody being the adult, somebody being the referee, especially around this issue about the downtown New York City, the Park 51 mosque, Cordoba Center mosque thing, a lot of the really sort of vicious Islamophobia stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think even on the left, expected that George W. Bush might be the adult to do that, because even as somebody in the most politicized, even as somebody who served through the most politicized times, he was a person who was a sort of voice of reason against Islamophobia on the right and the left and the center. And he didn't do it. And there isn't anybody else who rose up to do that. Do you have any insight into why he's not?
Look, I think that would have been a great place to hear his voice for the first time since leaving the presidency. And I think we'll get to see. His book comes out soon. And I hope he's asked about that, because he was an incredible voice. I remember in the 24 hours after 9/11, when we were all summoned back to the White House, back to work. The White House was open for business, and the first thing he went about doing was going to a mosque in Washington, D.C. There's one on Massachusetts Avenue on the way to Observatory Place. And Karen Hughes took on the role at the State Department of, bringing a more even and reasonable message about America around the world. And I think one of the great disappointments was that we didn't make more progress. And so I think it'll be really interesting to find out what he thinks about this debate. I think it's, this is the country we live in.
I wish we would have heard it already, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That is a need for sort of a moderator in the small m sense of it, somebody to sort of pull the brakes on. Well, I have to ask you, when everybody in Palinville did start throwing you under the bus, you said, if people want to throw me under the bus, my belief is the most honorable thing to do is lie there. I wanted to meet you as soon as you said that, and it took a long time. Why did you say that? What did you mean?
I mean, frankly, it was the logistics, you know. I mean, on a campaign, you're so harried. It's like, well, I can't spend, I've got to catch a plane. I can't spend 40 minutes explaining to you that I would never do anything to harm the candidates I work for.
Right.
Just ask the last 6 I've worked for. You know, I'd served as Jeb Bush's press secretary. I've been White House communications director. It really, I didn't say it to... you know, to duck the questions. I just thought it was, you know, I think the only thing that campaign staff is truly needed for is logistically moving a candidate around. You know, the people that are really vital are the schedulers and the travel people. The rest of us, you know, if the highest calling is to be thrown under the bus to take a fall, that's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you know, ask the Clinton guys. I mean, you have to be willing to take the fall. So I wasn't fazed by that. But what became extraordinary was just this climate of chaos and dysfunction that just kind of erupted. And it was, at the time, it was really hurtful. And you know, as I said, you know, I talked when Palin's book came out, and I took it personally. But as a writer of fiction, I was so thrilled that I'd experienced, you know, true humiliation, and that I'd had the whole range of emotions, because my characters are so much better for really knowing what the triumphs feel like, and really knowing what the, you know, more degrading parts of being a woman at the highest level of any profession feels like. And so I think I wrote better characters because of everything I'd been through.
Well, you also got in you got to give them all of the best lines to give, the stuff that you think of after the fact. I got through precisely 2 of my 11 questions that I had written for you, so I hope that you'll come back, Nicolle.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
The book is called 18 Acres. I read it when it was in galleys, which is why I have the paperback, but this is what it looks like in the hardback version of it. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.